We are Pierre, Lisa, and our furry crew member Tiller. We are sailing around the world in our Outremer 5X catamaran. Having crossed the Panama Canal and the Pacific Ocean, we're now in the Indian Ocean and sailing in Indonesia. Please subscribe to join our adventures. And a big thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. In our last episode, we left Vanuatu sailing towards the Great Barrier Reef. We took a more southerly route so that we would have some good wind. We had waves sitting us on the side for the first couple of days, and our crew member Luma was sick for a few days. But then, as the wind switched and we were more directly downwind, sailing wing on wing, things got calmer, and we were able to sail directly to the Rainier Pass, the pass that we were going to take through the Great Barrier Reef. In this video, we complete our 10.5-day or 11-day sail from Vanuatu all the way to Tual, Indonesia. We had some very challenging conditions, not necessarily weather. The sheath on our Jenniker furling line was giving out and needed constant repairs, and also so many fishing boats and obstacles, and we were sailing at night with no moon. At least Luma was recovering from her GI infection and seasickness. Tiller never seems to get seasick, just bored.
I think they could be whales.
In their size and the shape of their head, it looks like this was a pod of pilot whales. Our boat is here in red, and the course from Predict Wind is in green. And the yellow mark over here is marking the entrance to the Barrier Reef. We're hoping to arrive here during daylight so that we can cross this long distance during daylight. This is a current map, and we were in some pretty bad waves as we went through that red area of reverse current.
Wind against current, about maybe another hour, and then we'll be out into following current. What's happening? You have the big counter current that comes here, and as we know, Australia makes a big block of land, and then there's no real way for the current to go by the Torres Strait because it's so shallow. So as far as the current is concerned, it swings around and comes back and does a big swirl here. And we see several of those before it turns back and goes north of Papua New Guinea, which is the next exit from the water. So it's been a very uncomfortable ride because of all these currents back and forth, currents against wind, and also when the bottom goes up and down.
Pierre didn't want to wake me up when he wanted to drive the Jenniker, and it didn't go all that smoothly. But together we got it fixed.
Getting ready for Indonesia.
Despite good speed right now with the currents we've had in the previous day, it looks like we will not reach the entrance to the Great Barrier Reef until very close to sunset. So we have changed the destination. We're going to go in near Rain Island. That's a little bit further south, and it's a lot closer for us, and it is also a wide entrance that can be used at night because it's marked with a granite tower, and it's the former entrance used by ships. As we approached the Great Barrier Reef, we jibed the Jenniker, and we were now on a broad reach. The wind speed didn't change, but our hull speed increased. We were rushing to get there before the sun would set.
This is the part that we have to get to as quickly as possible.
And we're on a beam reach, pretty much a beam reach. And we are flying right now.
Not really.
We're doing like an average of 15 right now. There we're going, up to 17. Considering the entrance that's the blue line, we would have been there an hour earlier, but decided that we had enough light to get to the Rain Island entrance. As sunset approached, we discussed holding out outside the Barrier Reef for the night, but Pierre had plotted a very precise course with waypoints, as you can see with this red line here. By verifying the accuracy of the charts with the tower on Rain Island, we had confidence that we could go in using our waypoints and be safe from hitting any reefs. In addition, we had downloaded a completely different set of charts on the iPad, so we had two different sets of charts to follow Pierre following one and I was following the other as we went through the barrier reef, with the remaining twilight rapidly disappearing. As we passed Rain Island, we could see on AIS a park ranger, and we also noted the AI signal and radar were matching with respect to the signal seen by the island. We had rolled the Jenniker just before going through the pass, and after we passed all of the little shallow areas, after going through the passage, we took down the mainsail. That would give us better maneuverability to exactly follow the predetermined path we had plotted. You can see where we turned around, we just took down the mainsail, and there's no sea room later to take down the mainsail. Here we'd have less sea room to take down the mainsail. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's absolutely pitch dark. There's no moon, and we're motoring slowly inside the barrier reef. We're actually in a fairly clear zone, and we have a course that we're following when we get through where there's some shallow areas to avoid. But right now it looks like the maps are extremely accurate. We were able to look at the tower on the entry island and compare that with the radar and found that things looked really, really accurate and good. And we have 2 different maps that we were following, so we were confident going in the pass at night. We had a 1 mile clearance between the shallow areas, except for one point where it was a half-mile clearance, so that's still quite a lot of clearance. It wasn't like going into an atoll in the Tuamotus, so a lot easier. We're just motoring slowly inside the reef. We had planned to anchor, but the waves were much bigger than we expected, and it's still quite windy. And the wind kept going up and up, and at one point it was up at 25, and we're dead downwind. So we decided to take down the mainsail because we didn't want to have problems with jibing. And of course, when you face into the wind and it's 25 knots, if it's wavy, and you got to keep the boat moving forward, so we have the motors on, you have even more than 25 knots. So we had to get the sail bag up so we could drop the mainsail. And we did that and dropped the sail and turned around, and our speed dropped 3 knots, but we're motoring very slowly now. It's nice and calm. Just following our track. The map is very accurate. So we just decided it'd be better to keep going, because if we anchored in those waves, and we wouldn't have slept well. Here's the wind map as we motor inside the barrier reef towards the Torres Strait. The next morning, we decided to anchor under Q flag to catch a bit of sleep and to wait for a more favorable current to pass the Torres Strait. Pierre made some adjustments to the reefing line. I made banana bread and dog treats, and as the tide went down, we could see the reefs that were marked on the map. By sunset, we were on our way again, and the most challenging part of the whole voyage was once we passed the Torres Strait because of the multitude of fishing boats. It's a beautiful morning. We crossed the Torres Strait, and we're now sailing in the Indian Ocean. Last night was a little busy, lots of fishing boats. It's a bit of a strange thing. We see a lot of targets on AIS, but some of them are like giant mooring balls with an AIS stick. They appear on the AIS that we see on our radar, but they didn't appear on the map radar, and we're trying to figure out what they are. But those are the targets without lights. A little confusing. Anyways, Pierre had to do a lot of the navigation last night because it was really like playing a video game. Let me show you some images.
on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
For our last night at sea, we slowed the boat down so that we could arrive during daylight.
You and I can weather any storm. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more.
These fish farms were the last nighttime obstacle that we could finally see in daylight. We anchored right by the port of Tual, and our agent Kim met us and came out to the boat immediately. We are now in Raja Ampat as I finalize editing this video. BioTrek is on a mooring at Pef Island, and we have a stern line to the mangroves to prevent the boat from swinging because we're close to the other mooring where there's another boat. It's always so nice to arrive at destination after a long passage, and 11 days at sea gets a bit long, especially when you're just two people on watch. And this was a difficult passage because you really had to watch constantly with all of the fishing boats and obstacles in the water, and we were sailing with no moon. It was a new moon, and it was also overcast, so absolutely completely dark at night. But when we arrived in town, we used an agent to help us check in, Kim, and he was very efficient. We picked him up and he came to the boat right away, so no time for sleep. So the check-in process is really quite easy because Kim really did everything for us. He showed up on the boat with Fatima, who was from the tourist office. I read a fabulous book on Indonesia who kind of explained the bureaucracy because it's a very decentralized government, and I could kind of see the bureaucracy in action when we did the check-in. So first quarantine showed up, and she did selfies all over the boat. She was a lot of fun, but she kept saying documentation, documentation. And then we had to get the immigration, and they came on board, but they'd forgotten the cables for the computers because they wanted to scan the passports. So Pierre drove them back, and then it wasn't the right cable, and he had to drive them back again. And then finally the passports were scanned, and then we had customs come on board. And so they did the paperwork, and then we had to go to town and go to the customs office. Pierre went on a motorcycle, and Luma and I walked, and then it was done. Yeah, by that time it was early evening, and we went to a restaurant and had some dinner, and then we went back to the boat and crashed. Thank you. See you tomorrow. We just spent a couple days in Tual, but it was really a fabulous town to do provisioning. The fresh market was wonderful. And then we decided to go over to the west side of the island where there's a beautiful beach so that we'd be well positioned to check out and continue our voyage to Raja Ampat. The following day, Luma and I had our hair done, I had some shoes repaired, and we went on a tour with Kim and visited the Langkaur Caves. We then went to the Farganza Cafe, reputed to be the best restaurant on the island.
The restaurant name Farganza Cafe and Resto. That was probably the best restaurant in town because last year the president came to the K Island and he eats at the restaurant.
It was a really good restaurant with lots of vegetables, grilled fish, and sea grapes, which were a type of seaweed, were really delicious. I asked Kim why the flag was white and red, and he told me about the Yamato Hotel incident.
Was the touring of the blue color of the Dutch flag flying at the Hotel Yamato on September 19, 1945.
The Indonesian War of Independence was an internal post-war revolution. After the end of World War II, the revolution marked the end of the colonial administration of the Dutch East India countries and launched the new country of the United States of Indonesia. Indonesia is a nation of islands, and we look forward to showing you more as we explore this country. So in the next video, you're going to be seeing the beautiful Raja Ampat where we are right now. And I look forward to showing you that. Such beautiful, beautiful scenery here, both above water and underwater. Well, here's just a taste of it. We support a not-for-profit foundation called the Alliance to Cure. If you enjoy these videos, please consider giving a very small donation. The link can be found on our website, and every small little bit helps. 100% of the funds through the BioTruck Sailing website go to the foundation, and if you live in the US, it's tax deductible.